was most likely would have been a clause in the fighter's contract to say that no, amendment may be made unless it's in writing and agreed by both parties.
So at the sit down, Tommy Fury and Jake Paul shook hands on a bet. If Tommy Fury was to win, he would take double his purse. I believe it's around 6 million. So 3, then to double to 6 million. If he lost, then he would get nothing. He'd walk away with nothing at all. Now, a contract was put forward to Tommy by Jake's team. I know that Tommy signed his, and he was urging, he was almost desperate for Tommy to sign his side of the contract. Now, some questions I've got for you then. So they shook hands on this deal. Jake's not yet paid up. Okay, so John Fury's kicking off. As it's publicly recorded, and they are technically in a place of work, can this stand up, Mahtab?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of issues here. First of all, this was actually the handshake or so-called, agreement or oral contract actually happened in Saudi Arabia. So it would be the law of Saudi Arabia that would dictate, in actual fact, whether there was actually a legal contract. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert on the law in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. But if I was to apply English law, he would certainly there would be a basis for a contract having been completed, because you only need 4 elements to a contract, and they all seem to have been satisfied. So in those terms, yes, there was in fact a legal contract made. A lot of people are under this perception that contracts have to be written. They don't. Any legal verbal contract is valid as long as it satisfies the criteria of offer, acceptance, consideration, and the intention to have a legal agreement. So all of these were in fact complied with. But as I said, it was done in Saudi Arabia, so we can't really apply English law to that. And the other thing, of course, is that there would already have been a fighter's contract. The fighter's contract may well have certain clauses in there saying that you cannot alter or change the fighter's contract unless it's in writing.
Right.
Although obviously Jake Paul probably did it on the basis that if he was to get paid his money, and then he would give it over to Tommy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I see. Okay. So if they've already got a contract in place, they obviously Saudi law, we get that. Would they need to then rewrite that whole contract then? Would they,
Yes,
in order
they
to?
would,
So they can't have like an additional add-on or anything like that.
Yes, you can, as long as the parties say in that contract that any amendment to this contract or agreement has to be in writing and with the consent of both parties. As long as that's there, then they can be amended.
It can be amended, right? That's really easy. So as far as like, let's just go as if it was the UK law. I know things are different over there. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that it was shaken, that's fine. It was 3 million quid we're talking about here.
Yeah.
The contract that he did get put under his, on his lap, didn't get signed. How does that kind of change things? The fact that he didn't sign it, does that kind of null and void what Tommy, was doing with the handshake if he hasn't actually? Because he did say, just to be clear on the video, yeah, I'll sign it, and he didn't. Does that affect it?
If there's already a written contract, because when you say written contract, so I take it that's over and above the fighter's contract that was already out of the thought.
That's right. They've already agreed to fight, but this was like a bet, and they gave him a physical contract.
Right.
So signed it to say, listen, you'll have double your money if you beat me. If you don't, you get nothing. Jake Paul signed. Tommy Fury didn't sign, but Tommy Fury did agree to sign, and so did John Fury.
Right.
So the fact that he didn't, is that?
Yeah. That goes back to my point that that there was most likely would have been a clause in the fighter's contract to say that no, amendment may be made unless it's in writing and agreed by both parties. So in that context, yes, then that means that then Tommy Fury would have an issue with trying to actually pursue that.
That's got to be a big factor, hasn't it? The fact that they've gone, okay, I accept your demands. It's 3 million quid. However, this is what you're going to have to sign this. And the fact that he hasn't, it's not exactly going to go well towards him, really.
Mm.
As far as kind of John Fury was the one that's leading it. John Fury is the one who shook his hand and said, as the leader of the clan, and all that stuff. He's going to get it. I think I might put a video out on this. It seemed quite good at John Fury. So he said, as the leader of the clan, I'll bet you, we are going to sign it and all this. Now, the fact that John is leading it rather than Tommy, is the contract got anything to do with John if it says that he's shaking hands when he's not the fighter? How does that work?
Yeah. In fact, he's actually not a party to a contract. He can't really sort of legally do anything. But if you say he's like a spokesperson or a spokesman for Tommy, then he can certainly, put forward his views. But if there was to be any legal action, it would have to be under Tommy's name.
Yeah, that's it. And it doesn't seem like he's leading the charge, So, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure about this kind of thing, but obviously I can imagine that Jake Paul will have a serious legal team behind him. And what kind of costs would it take for someone like John Fury to potentially sue the likes of Jake Paul? I mean, it's 3 million quid. I mean, would it be even worth it for the amount of it cost him to do it?
Cost wouldn't be that huge. I mean, it's £3 million is the ultimate, goal. So it would be well worth, going for it legally. But the thing is, as I said, if Tommy hasn't signed it, then that could mean that they're going to be on weak ground, really. Not having seen the actual, written contract, but I'm sure it must have said that any amendments must be in writing. And I think Jake Paul's team knew what they were doing.
Yeah, there is that. I mean, considering the fact that it was in Saudi Arabia, I mean, I don't really know much about the religion side. My apologies. But I believe they call it haram, where it's kind of against the religion or something of that nature. I believe that gambling over there is that. So would that kind of null and void anything?
Yeah, I mean, gambling is, but I think what they were doing there, it wasn't actually gambling, because what it was basically what Jake Paul was saying was basically that I'm giving you this offer of a higher prize money if you win. I'm comfortable with not taking anything. So in that sense, it's not actually a gamble. In that sense, it's gambling in the sense that if he loses, then there's obviously he wouldn't sort of get anything back. But in terms of actual contract, it's probably it is a basis for a contract.